Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is GMIHub Online, and I'm so glad that you are here to be with us. I am Cheryl Dewick, your host, and with me is my co-host, Dale Borland. Dale? And you forgot to unmute
I know. It's like, what is wrong with me? Okay, I just wanted to say hi. Thank you so much for joining us, GMIHub Online. We are broadcasting on YouTube, and this is your first time visiting us on YouTube. Please don't forget to hit that subscription and the notification bell and leave a comment. We love those comments. They really make a difference and help us connect with you one-to-one. Also want to let you know about the GMIHub.ca. It's the website to be seen. Go check it out. Find out more about us on GMIHub.ca. If you scroll down there, there's a place where you can connect with us. And that way we'll be able to send you a short little update once a month. It's called Hub Happening. And let's let you know what's going on with all the things that we're up to. And also, if you're an artist or you're producing an event or you got something up and coming that you want people to know about, let us know and we will put it in our Hub Happening. That's right, absolutely free. We want to help promote what God's doing in your life through your music. So let's help you, help us, help you, help us. I don't know. Anyway, so really appreciate the fact that you take the time to do all that. And today, this conversation is going to be kicking. Can't wait till we get to it. I'll let Cheryl talk about that.
Today, we are going to be talking about prepping for the media, prepping for your media interviews. Now, some people may not feel like they're ready for this, but if you are pushing to become more stronger or more well-known, establishing a greater, more fans, you're going to want to connect with the media to help you with this. So we felt it was very important to have this conversation about how to actually prepare for the media, how to have a good experience with the media. And, there may be some things you'll find out tonight that are very surprising compared to what, people would have thought in the past about media. But anyway, I am so thrilled to have our special guest tonight, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. We have Twanda Black. Twanda is the CFO and host with PGN Television Network in Atlanta, Georgia. She has 30 years of experience in radio and television broadcast. And in that 30 years, she has been a public affairs director. She's been a radio host and a whole slew of other things within the industry. And I'm so glad she's here to share that experience with us. Welcome, Twanda. So glad you're able to join us. Remember to unmute.
Okay. How about that?
You say hello. Awesome. We can hear you.
Awesome. It's green all
You're
the time.
You're in good company.
Yeah, it's green. I'm so glad to be here, and it's going to be a great conversation.
It will be. It will be.
Yes.
And also from Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, we have Loretta Slomp. Loretta is with 1016 Entertainment. She is the radio promoter there. And 1016 Entertainment is a company that works with artists here in Canada and helps promote them to Canadian radio stations, if I'm not mistaken, right across Canada.
Correct, yeah.
And we're so thrilled that Loretta is able to join us. And she remembered to unmute. Awesome.
Yay!
Yay! Well, thanks for having me here.
That's awesome. I just appreciate you both being here. We're actually going to have a great conversation because we're looking at somebody in our panelist who was involved in one side of it and both sides of it, and now we got people who are actually helping artists to go to radio. It's like we got to cover a lot of topics today, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
It is. So let's get this conversation started. Okay. First question, in general, thinking about media. Okay. I have a question about what media's intent was in general would be for interviewing artists. What are some of the reasons why a journalist would approach an artist to interview them? What are they looking for? What is their purpose? Can you give us some ideas on that?
I'd say from a radio perspective, a lot of it is they're looking to entertain their audiences. So they're looking for content that is going to entertain and keep their audiences engaged in the station. So it's not so much that this sounds harsh, but it's not so much that they care about you so much as they care about their audience, the ones who they're trying to garner their attention. So they need something that's relevant and going to be interesting to
That
the
makes
listener.
sense.
Yeah.
I think the other part of that is to, of course, to inform the audience about, whatever the artist is doing, but also if the artist is in some kind of, let's say, situation, maybe scandal, or there's something big going on with that artist, sometimes we just want to get the scoop. We just want to be the first to be able to tell our audience this is what's happening. So, yes, it is definitely entertainment, information, but sometimes it's just to get that scoop.
There's in the past, there's been this kind of, I don't know if this is a paradigm thought that it's like the media is out to get me. They're out to get the dirt on these artists. They want to find the worst about them. But from what you're saying, that's not always the case, is it? Right?
No, not at all. I've actually had artists tell me, I don't do any views anymore because you guys mistreat me, you've misquoted me, you've done A, B, C, D. And I'm going, I'm a happy person and I'm not here to do anything negative, because that would be negative for me as a host and representing, my outlet. So I definitely don't want to do anything negative. I think that artists should pay attention to the platforms that they're trying to get on in the first place.
Right.
Now, listen
That's
to
right.
the interviews, because if their reputation, if their host, if their whatever it is, if it doesn't line up with what you believe in and who you are, then you don't even need to be on that platform at all. Period.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So you do your homework. Yeah.
Right. That's actually a good lead into this question that would lead to that is, how would an artist proactively get prepped for an interview? What things would they need to think about so that they can do this interview? And one you just touched on was research what the media is you're going to be speaking to find out how they might want to push them. Yeah.
You also
Loretta,
want to
you wanna
research.
take that one first?
Like you'll want to get a good story on yourself. So what is it that's interesting that the listener is going to want to pay attention to, that the interviewer is going to engage in? So do you have, what is your story? It's not just, I have great music, you should listen to me. You need to be able to build something a little bigger than that. So things like, what are you involved in? What are you passionate about? Are you doing some nonprofit work? Do you support a specific cause? Is there furthermore in your story? So being able to help develop who you are as an artist, but also outside of just the craft of your music, creates a bigger story. That as well keeps the focus. If the stations or the media is aware of all these things in advance, they're not having to search and dig up stuff that perhaps you don't want them to talk about, because you've already got it crafted what it is that you want to speak of about you, your causes, your music, and then that feeds into the conversation. So you're prepared with what you want to present, but you also give that information to the media in advance, whether it be your press release or talking points.
One sheet,
Yeah.
I always say do your own one sheet. And because
Right.
I've had guests ask me for the questions. However, sometimes, and understand, sometimes, especially in television, they don't have time to read your book. They don't have time to read your one-page press release. They don't have time to do any of that. So if you can give them a one sheet with everything, they can just look at that one sheet, pick out some questions, because literally you have anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute, with this person. And so you've got to be able to get your story in that amount of time, not 10 seconds, but, be a minute to 3 minutes. It's not long. So you don't have long to, let me think about that. No, you don't have that. So I always suggest
let me just
you send the one sheet in of your own stuff.
right. That's absolutely essential. Just put the brakes on for a second, because I think that some artists need to hear this. That you have heard two really important things right now. Having this one sheet is not only for those person interviewing, it's for you. You have an opportunity to not have to worry about messing up what you're saying. You have it. Another thing is, which was Lorena was talking about, was the story. I've heard this over and over again from so many platforms that are trying to help artists just to start their careers. A story is essential, and how you put that story together can make or break you. And
That's right.
and I think that it's an important thing to really focus on that and try to get that realistic, authentic story that actually connects you with your audience. And if you can find those opportunities, you'll have a great place to start. Sorry, I
Yeah,
just wanted to say that.
and think about it as an elevator pitch. You know how they say you got 30
Mm-hmm.
seconds on the elevator. You may not have 30 seconds, you may have a minute, but your story needs to be concise and you need to hit it right there
Mm-hmm.
as fast as you can so that because in a few minutes your time is going to be up. It depends. If
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
television, yeah, your time is going to be up soon. But if it's radio, when I was doing public affairs, you know, I did 12-minute, 15-minute stories. So you had time to really tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you didn't know your story, that was an issue, you know? That was an
It's the other
issue.
thing
So yeah,
with
your own
radio.
way.
If you don't know your with radio, if you don't know your story well enough, then you're doing ums and ahs,
Yeah,
and you
Yes,
don't
absolutely.
have any visual for them to see you pausing and thinking. It's just
right.
dead air. So you need to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
ready
Mm-hmm.
with your story and ready to go because it just needs
Mm-hmm.
to move along. And it's not a
Hmm.
big
Mm-hmm.
monologue. You're interacting
Right,
Yeah,
with the host, but you need to be able
right.
to punch out those facts there.
absolutely.
You know, and that's a good point, Loretta. When I was interviewing, and I still do, sometimes people just want to tell their whole story in 1 minute. I was like, wait a minute, hold
Mhm.
up. We have 15 minutes. You can't give me everything. Let me ask you the question, and then I want you to answer the question. But then you get some
Mm-hmm.
people who just say yes, no, or okay.
It's true. It's
I've
so
had
true.
those. Look, I've had
Yes.
those and was not able to air that at all because I couldn't get the
Yeah.
person to open up. So that was a
That's so
whole
true.
nother issue. And but yeah,
Mm.
you've got to learn how to go along with it. Don't just jump in and tell your entire story. This is a give and take. When you have a host, the host
Mm-hmm.
wants to ask you questions and then they want you to
Mm-hmm.
answer the questions. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
something you can simply dialogue with a friend of yours, with a
Right.
friend or a
Actually, that
spouse or
leads
somebody where
that
you can have a
leads to
conversation.
this. Yeah, this leads to the point of practice, taking that time
Yes.
to have opportunities, like you're just saying. Absolutely, do some of that practice, role playing, oh, that's so important.
With your friends,
Yeah,
yeah, with your friends or family, and you
yeah.
sit down and practice. I mean, as a host, when I started radio almost 40 years ago, I used to practice. I used to get in the mirror and practice. I used to get on the microphone and practice. So yeah, as an artist, you definitely need to practice. You need to know what your face
Mm-hmm.
is looking like. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
tails? Are you going, are
Right.
you making faces? Are you looking crazy? Yeah, you need to practice, definitely.
And I would
I
suggest
think I
don't
need to
practice
take
alone.
notes.
You do need to practice with somebody and not with a set script of what the questions are going to be
Yes,
so
Right.
that you know
exactly.
how,
Yeah.
like, can I reply on the go? What are the
Right.
questions? And that also, you're not getting into that monologue mindset where everything is just spewed out. You're having a
Yeah.
conversation with your
Yeah.
friend. So,
Yeah.
with somebody unscripted is a great way to
Mm-hmm.
practice.
It
That's
is.
true.
And
Very
I
true.
always say be prepared for anything. You may send those questions and people would send me questions and I go, yeah, I'm going to use some of those questions, but understand I may ask some questions of my own. So be prepared
Mm-hmm.
for anything. I always say.
That's good.
Mm.
That's real good.
Well, this is good. Like what I'm hearing right now is one, you as an artist or an interviewee of any, whether you're an artist or even any other position, but we're focusing on music artists right now. You have the ability to if the right word is control or have a say on what the media wants to interview you about. So that goes back to what Loretta and Twanda were saying about knowing your story and
Mm-hmm.
and pick a story that people can identify with. And I love some of the examples that Loretta brought up. As you were talking, Loretta, I was thinking of another person that we've had on our show who I think was well, we've had people who are artists as in they're not just singers, but they're fine artists. So they like taking things like, and I think in a program that we were working on, Dale, we had met an artist that actually took pieces of items that she found in the garbage, and she finished them or refurnished them or something like that. She painted them, refurbished. That's the word I'm looking for. Refurbished them, and then used them as testimony. Like she uses that as part of her story. So things like that can really cause other people to connect. Like if you're a parent and you want to talk about family stuff, that is something that people can connect with. And how do you connect that with your art? Well, how can being a young parent, for example, like how do you adjust your music, or how do you adjust your time to practice your music relating to being a new family, like having a new family and member or something like that? Could, something that people can relate to. So I love the fact that you're saying that there are stories that people can relate to and help you gain your fans. And Dale, you were going to say something.
Well, just tail on to what you're saying is that their social media posts, those things that Cheryl just mentioned about your self-interest and how they might convey to the potential listeners. It's really important. If you have you're looking for content, there is something that's so accessible. The things you like to do, things that maybe your audience would understand it. Hey, I like to bake. Maybe while I'm baking, I'm thinking of my song, and you sing, and there's an opportunity to do something relational. It may not be the big story that you talked about earlier, but when you're doing those posts, you have those opportunities. So I just want to say,
and make it transparent. Make sure that you're being transparent with your folks, that you're being authentic. Like it doesn't sound like a story, instead of, it came from your heart. And this is what happened to me. Like it's a testimony, and how does it relate to your music? How does it relate to your artistry? And that's so important, because a lot of times that story is connected to their music and how they write and their process and everything. So it can be really amazing.
We have a really good example of one that we're artist that we're currently working with, Sterling John, and he's an RCMP officer. He works with Indigenous youth, and he has a passion for that and dealing with mental health. So in his line of work, working as an RCMP officer and working with these youth, he sees all sorts of broken families and mental health issues, and that comes out in his songwriting. And those are the things that he's passionate about sharing in his song. So this is his first radio single to Christian radio, and we've had more interview requests for him than we have anybody else. Because usually for a first-time artist, stations are like, "Oh, we don't know who they are. We'll wait."
Right.
But they were jumping on it right away because he's got a great story to tell that adds and directs to his music.
Absolutely.
Wow, fantastic.
Absolutely.
So if we could just take a second for a second, I'm just thinking about, you just talked about songwriters, and I think that's a great segue to talk about what's happening with GMIHub. We are looking for songwriters, believe it or not. We've got a Christmas compilation CD project coming your way for 2023, and we want you to submit your songs.
Yes.
Now is the time to submit your original Christmas song.
The Who is you. If you're a songwriter and would love to be a part of our Christmas compilation project, then you're in the right place.
Where can you submit? GMIHub.ca is the place. Please visit our website at GMIHub.ca and click on Family Christmas to find out how you can submit your song today.
You could be a part of the GMI Hub Family Christmas Volume 4.
So there you go, folks. I'm so excited about this opportunity. If you are an artist who writes music, or if you're someone who's thought about putting a Christmas song together, now is the time to produce that thing. If you've got a song you haven't yet released and you're waiting for a place to put it, and maybe you don't have a project big enough to put it in, but you have a Christmas song, please go to gmihub.ca and go to Family Christmas, and that link right there, and it tells you all about how you can be part of our Family Christmas Volume 4.
Hey, Dale, is it all kinds of music? Is it every format of music?
Oh yes, we have rock, pop, gospel, soul, inspirational, jazz, The whole
Okay.
gambit. It's been incredible. The kind of music we've had submitted over the last 3 projects has been just diverse, really diverse. And that's what we want to focus as a GMI hub. We want to focus on the gospel message. So that's not so much the style of music, it's just the message
Mhm.
within the music. So that's why
Right.
we say any style of music is acceptable for sure.
Cool. Great,
Yes,
great.
yes. Sorry, when you said that, I was starting to think of Sweet Carol, which is a
Yes.
calypso Christmas song. Anyway, that's a shout out to Stacy.
Yes, that's right.
Anyway, let's get back to our conversation, because one of the questions I had was, let's talk about mistakes. What are some things
Mm-hmm.
people should avoid when
Yeah.
when
Mm-hmm.
approaching a media interview, whether it's before they get to the interview, during the interview, or even after the interview? Let's talk about common
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mistakes that we should be avoiding.
Could I just start off? I've been
Mhm.
doing radio for 18 and a half years, a long time ago. And when I was interviewing, I interviewed a gentleman from London, and I was on speaker on a phone trying to record it. Here's one thing that I would recommend if you are an artist who's being interviewed. Um, Try not to get yourself in an environment that's distracting and noisy, and like a place where especially if you're on the phone, because what you want to do is not have noises going on that are not adhering to that which the interview needs to hear. So if you have light music in the background, may not be a problem, but even that might be just something to consider. So it can be very distracting, and when you come to editing that interview, it becomes a mess. And you've wasted all that time on a potentially really good interview because of the noise in the
Yes.
background. So I just
Yes.
want to
Yes.
just say that first. Off you go. All right.
Yeah, I've got
Artists sound like
a
you
same
did.
kind of story. I've got the same kind of story. A huge, huge artist here in America, and you would know who she is if I told you. Huge. And we're in the middle of our interview, and we're probably about 15 minutes in. I'm doing a whole 20 minutes, 25 minutes on her. And her doorbell rings, and she yells out in the middle of the interview, "Somebody get the door!" And then the dog is barking. I was just
Yeah.
on the floor laughing. It was so funny. It was hilarious. So I
Was this
said, okay,
live?
yes, it was
Oh.
live. It was live. Oh my gosh. It was so funny. And I mean, and then she
Oh,
was like talking to the person, telling them,
yeah.
just get whatever
Yeah.
it is, sign for it. What she forgot that she was doing an interview live. Oh, that thing tickled me. I'm like on the floor going, oh
That's
Lord, what am I
craziness.
gonna do with
That's good.
this? Yeah. I mean, it happens. It's like you
Sure.
said, no distractions. Look, it's
Mm,
important. This is important. Don't talk to your dog, your daughter, be cooking. You hear all kinds.
right.
Sometimes I've stopped
Mm,
people in the middle of an interview and said, what are you doing? And I go, oh
mm.
well, I'm so serious because I can't focus when I'm talking to you and there's stuff clanging and you're moving around and
Yeah.
there's paper
Yeah.
shifting and I can't do it. So I just stop the
Mhm.
interview and go, what are you doing? So let me know. And I've done it. I've said, let me know when you're finished, or we can reschedule because I cannot.
So you, for a little bit there, you go like a little bit mama on them. You say, well, "What are you doing?" Because
What are you doing?
and you're that was great. And then you get all business up in them, and that was really good. I thought that was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, but it's like that. On that end of it, I think sometimes they don't take it as serious that this is important to
Yeah,
their career. They don't think this one
absolutely.
interview is that important. And when
Hmm.
every interview is important, every
Yeah.
one of them is important to your career. So you should think of it in those terms. Don't be distracted. Make sure that you have, if you're on television, if it's virtual, make sure your backgrounds are good. Make sure your lighting
Mhm.
is good. All of it is important, and
Yeah,
make sure you're dressed
absolutely.
appropriately. You know,
Right.
And
Yeah,
test those
that's
things
totally great.
before you jump into the interview.
absolutely. You
You got
cannot
a
just
camera on your computer
interview.
or your
No,
device. There's no
that's true.
excuse.
It's not true. There's no excuse, really. No, today you got a point. Really, if you're doing a live interview on TV or video like we're doing right now, look at what's going on, because the lighting's important, the audio is important. Without Daryl's our technician who's running this all today, but people like him are really helping. Yeah, thank you. He's really helping us get the audio and the video forward. But we have to do a lot of balance and checks before we go live, and those things are done every show. And this is an interview type format, and so we have two incredible interviewees, and these panelists need to be respected. So we want to make sure they're seen, and so. I'm not saying we're the be-all and end-all, but we're trying our best to do the things we're telling you right now, to try and do
right.
the best
So like,
job
there's
you
some of those practical things too that like we run through before we jump on. Is things like, is there going to be sounds coming from your computer? Is your phone muted? Are you going to get any alerts? Maybe put some earbuds in. It's plugged into your computer. You're not going to get that external noise coming out of your computer anymore. Are you going to get feedback because you're hearing the other person's voice is being picked up by your microphone? And so making sure that you've got a good microphone headset system set up so you're not getting that extra feedback. And distractions. I've got Zoom calls with a colleague, and I constantly have to tell him, you have to stabilize your microphone because he's got a big bushy beard, and this keeps rubbing up against his beard, and so it's clicking. And so be conscious of where your microphone is sitting at. And so you have to kind of jump into a producer mindset before you jump on. Okay, what are all the things that can distract? It could be little things like little alerts. It could be big things like your kid walking into the room, which has become standard in Zoom calls these days, but this is not a Zoom call. This is a professional interview. So,
right, exactly.
I would say another big thing is when you're doing a television, even virtual, to make sure that your internet connection is good. I've had some where from minute one, nothing, or it was freezing, or their heads started doing weird things, or right, and we just could not go on. I said, we're going to have to reschedule. You let me know when you get your Wi-Fi situation set. I mean, because I had to do it. I had to get top of the line Wi-Fi to be able to do what I do. So I would expect that if you're doing interviews, and that's going to be something that you normally do, that you will even have that done as well. That you will take care of.
Get some old school hardwire.
Plug it in, right?
It's interesting you're saying that, because our Wi-Fi went down on Friday, literally, and we didn't have any over Saturday. And of course, you can't call a technician, and we were trying to get a hold of somebody, and it was just crazy. We got somebody in Sunday afternoon, so I got home from church, so I'm saying, okay, let's get this done. If I hadn't got that fixed, we wouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
And it happens. I mean, sometimes it's so beyond your control, and you can't worry about that. That's beyond your control. But when you do the things that you can control, handle those things, and think about those little small intricate things that really make a difference.
So one of those strategies.
When you were all talking about distractions, when you were all talking about distractions, I know that my husband would say this to me: the earrings. Make sure the earrings aren't knocking against anything. Because that's happened before in so many places. I know that like a girl loves her earrings, loves the look, but it does cause some problems. So he'll be proud of me, I hope, for confessing that.
Or things that make noise, bracelets, like he was asking, does somebody have a bracelet on? Bracelets. Right. We have all kinds of little trinkets going on. So those things are important. Yeah, we want to up our game. We want to look good. However, those things don't go well on virtual or audio interviews. They really don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Even a squeaky chair. You want to be careful.
Oh my God! Right. Yes. I've had that one. I've had that. Yes.
Also, if you're doing radio interview, things are not just audio anymore. You're likely going to be on a video call.
Right.
And they may use snippets of that for their online presence. It may go up on YouTube, and YouTube it's video. And so even though you're thinking, oh, it's just radio, I can be in my pajamas, or I don't need to worry about the background or what's happening there. No, you have to be.
Yeah.
It's not just
All
the
of it.
visuals, the other distractions, all of it. Be prepared.
That's right.
Yeah.
All of it.
Wear
All
pants.
of it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. No,
So,
okay.
another mistake, you were talking about mistakes. And another
Yeah.
thing is, I would say from the beginning of an interview, if you are in a challenging situation, a scandal in your life, and you don't want to talk about that, you let them know at the beginning, this is not something I'm going to discuss, because they are going to ask you that question. And when they ask you that question, you go, no, I'm not going to, and you don't really want to do that. So head that off at the pass. At the beginning, say, this is something that I'm not willing to discuss. All right. I remember when I interviewed Stedman Graham, long time ago. He wrote a book. And of course, that's Oprah's man, right? And I didn't ask him anything about Oprah. And at the end, when it was over, he hugged me. He said, thank you so much. I said, well, I know what he was saying. I said, this interview is about you. It's not about Oprah. He said, but every interview I have had has asked me about Oprah. And so, just know that folks are going to ask you about other stuff that should not be in the interview. Okay. And also, if there is something that needs to be corrected or you got misquoted, fix it right then, fix it ASAP. As soon as it happens, don't wait and say, I'm going to fix it at the end. You may forget, or the interview may be over and you don't have a chance to fix that. So if it's happening in real time, go ahead and say, let me just say, that was kind of not how I said that, or that's not what I meant. Fix it at that moment. Do not wait.
That's good.
Yeah.
There are times where you may be like, just for example, say you might be very private about your family.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as they ask about your kids. You can easily, without being dismissive, you can divert the conversation.
Right.
And something like, oh, I'm so thankful for my family and my friends in church for being so supportive of the ministry that I'm having, and then move into something else that you're doing. And so that's something that you practice with your friends as well when you're doing that practice session, when you're preparing for the interview.
Those interviewers are not like that. They'll get back in and ask you that same question over again. And then it becomes a little bit of an issue. So you let them know in the beginning, I'm not going to talk about my family.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're putting healthy boundaries before you actually start the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think it's also good for the artist to be able to say, look, I've already said that. So then, I don't want to repeat myself, So,
Right.
So
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you went
okay. So you're
and
talking
answered
about
the same
common
question.
mistakes. Yeah.
Yes.
But I was thinking about when we're getting into mistakes, then there's some things that an artist should probably do, like purposely be intentional about, besides talking about the story and all that. What are some of the strategies that an artist should be concentrating or thinking about when they get into a great conversation or a question and Q&A? What would be one good strategy they should have with them, like something in their tool belt?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that one.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think we've kind of answered it in having that one sheet, being prepared, having rehearsed everything, because I think that's the thing. And, I guess I always say, be humble. Humility, you got to have that in your pocket. Be humble. And I tell you a story about that. This is a kind of a girl story. I don't know if it's appropriate or not. I think it's appropriate. However, a big publisher here, Gospel Magazine, the artist came through. The artist was not humble. The artist was arrogant. The artist was mean-spirited to everybody on the staff. So I'm going to be nice. The artist had, what shall I say, a visitor in his nose. Okay? it was green.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Big one.
Okay.
Big one.
Oh boy. Oh
So
boy.
when the magazine came out, he was on the front page with his visitor in his nose. I called the publisher, who was a friend of mine, and I said, I know you guys saw this. Why is he on the front cover with the visitor in his nose? She said, oh, with a smile on her face. We just missed it.
Oh.
So do you understand what I'm saying? Be humble. Be
Yeah.
nice to people.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it's a
That wasn't missed.
representation.
Yeah.
It was not missed.
No.
It was done
Yeah, I
with
know. I
purpose.
hear you.
And let that little thing sit right there. And he's on the front cover with that word.
Oh, man.
Blown up page too.
Yes.
That's funny.
Full
Okay,
page.
so how did that's probably something that was unavoidable in his regard. He wouldn't have known that unless someone had told him.
Check your mirror.
But anyway, yeah, well, that's true.
Your mirror.
Here's what I'm
You
thinking.
got it
though.
on your
Here's what I'm
phone.
thinking.
Who are your friends? Who was with you?
Yeah,
Who was with you?
exactly. So
You know,
this,
they
that's
should
what I
have
was about
told
to
you, hey,
say.
dude. Yeah.
Do you have a complement of people that are with you when you're doing this? Or are you by yourself? I think that having a team in so many
Yes.
instances throughout this career, this possible career, is those people you have around you who can help you
Yes.
with those, not just in the interviews, but I mean, there's other things. Like one
Right.
thing I really appreciate is Daryl, our technician in my life, because he has such a great keen sense of visual framing because he's a camera
Mhm.
operator
Mhm.
as his full-time job, and I can actually lean to his expertise when it comes to certain visuals like that I can't do to someone else who doesn't have that tech knowledge or that comprehension.
Right.
So having those people around you that know those places that you may have gaps in really
Yeah.
takes you to a higher level, a better, stronger place in your potential movement forward. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I think that's
Absolutely.
something that we consider, that not just when you're going for an interview, but in everything
For
in your
all
musical
things.
career. Yeah,
Yes. For
well,
all
even
things.
outside of
Even
music, yeah, life in
if it's
general, yeah,
one
but
person. Yeah. Even if it's just one person, have
yeah,
somebody
totally.
with you who's got your back, you know? Absolutely. Mhm.
That's a good point.
Yep.
That is
You're
good.
not
So
looking for an
I
entourage, but you are looking for a check.
no, but no, you're right.
Right,
You're not
right.
looking for but yeah, no, that's a good. I mean, it's a good place to talk about that. That you don't want a bunch of yes men. You want people who are going to be there, who say, look, call it as it is, and you can respect their
Yeah.
opinion. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because I mean, there's too many people that get big-headed and go on and do whatever they want when they got a bunch of yes men around them saying, "Oh, you're great, you're us, oh, you look." You know, we need to balance that with truth and respect, and you know,
Yeah.
all those things that come along with
Mhm.
having that friendship that you have.
You know, Dale, as you know, in radio and having a gospel show and hosting different areas, I was at a concert. This artist, and this is just an example of when to have good people around you. This artist looked. He was not the headliner, so he came on before maybe two acts before the headliner. And he looked out of the curtain. We were backstage. He looked out of the curtain and says, there's not enough people out there. I'm not going. So his friend or whoever his person was should have said, man, that's not the attitude. That's not what this is about. And here's the thing I want you, all the artists, to remember is that we talk. So all of us who were back there backstage, I know we've told 10 people about that artist. So you need to understand that in this circle, it's big, but it's small. And in a lot of ways, we are connected all over the world. Media, okay? So don't get up there and show your butt. That's not cool. And so
No.
you look at that artist in a different way when they do things like that. You hear their music in a different way. I'm just telling you from an announcer's point of view. You know, I have a radio show, a TV show, I have a video show, and I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And I've seen it from the top to the bottom. And so if you're not doing your ministry for the right reason, you don't need to be doing this thing. So if it
Wow.
matters to you, if it's 20 people out there or if it's 20,000 people out there,
Right.
you needed that person near you to say, "Hey, that's not the right thing to do, man. You need to go out there and do
Yeah.
what God called you to do." You know.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Well.
that when you said that, I just brought that story back to my mind.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Well, that's
so
cool.
good.
I think we need to go into another commercial, but when we come back, I'm gonna ask a bit more about that building relationships with media right after this.
Yeah. Okay.
GMIHub is accepting new songs for their 2023 Christmas compilation. To find out how to submit your song, go to www.gmihub.ca today. GMI Hub Family Christmas Volume 4.
That's right. We got Volume 4 coming at you this year, and you can be a part of it. GMIHub.ca.
That's right.
Click on Family Christmas, find out more. Be a part of the experience.
Dale, you are hilarious.
Okay, so let's get back to what I was talking about. Now, you were talking about an artist having a reputation, and that's vitally important. But that reputation trickles into the media relationship. And I think there's some ways that artists can build that relationship. So, what's some of the ways that you can tell us?
Loretta, jump on in there.
Okay. My perspective is from a radio side of things more. That's in Canada, that's the market that I have the most experience in. And I've been doing radio tracking for almost 20 years here. And so I know a lot of radio stations. And so if you don't have a radio tracker, somebody who you're working with who is doing that specifically, you need to know the market that you are trying to reach and know who it is, who are the decision makers are. So it's going to take some research because radio stations get inundated with so much stuff they don't have the time for. If you don't know who the right person is that you're reaching out to, they're just like, why are you sending me this? I am not the right person for this. The other thing is knowing what media it is that you're targeting. Is your music, is your story something that fits what that station or what that media outlet is talking about or even interested in? Here in Canada for radio is a little bit of a niche market. And I see a lot of artists who are like, but why can't I get radio play? Why won't you work a campaign for us? We're like, it's not that your music isn't good. Your music is great, or maybe it needs some fine tuning, whatever it may be. However, we don't have the luxury here in Canada of having a Christian country radio station and a Christian R&B radio station and a Christian inspirational station. We don't have that. We have Christian stations. And so not at fault of the radio stations, they're going to have to pick what lane they're going to play in, and they're not going to scatter themselves all sorts of different formats. They're going to play, if your music is too far off from stylistically what they're playing, they're just not going to play it because it's going to clash with what they're playing. So with any media, you're going to want to listen to what their style is, listen to what they're interested in, read what they're interested in writing about, watch the interviews that they like to do. If you don't fit, that's fine. Find somewhere that you do fit, because that's probably where your fan base is going to be paying attention to anyways. And so it's knowing who you're talking to, finding whether it's a good fit for them and for you, a good relationship, and then approaching the right people. So you're not wasting their time, and you're also not wasting your time.
You're so correct, Loretta. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah. I was just going to add to that, because I think that that's really important to understand that some shows are independent from the radio station themselves. So let's say I have Rocket Rajan, and Rocket Rajan's got his rock and roll show. You may want to send your demo to Rocket Rajan and not send it to the radio station. Or maybe you got DJ Loudboy over here has got his hip hop, and you want to send it to rock. And no, it's not going to work. You got to send it to him. So listen to the program you're listening to. Find out if the radio station is actually putting the music on it, or it's the art or the DJ himself that's putting the music into that. So that you may want to just change your whole thought process. And as you're talking about your demographic, who is your demographic? What is going to listen to that? Maybe you'll have to send it to that DJ, maybe not the station. So that's another thing that you have to think about.
Right, because a lot of times for the general playlist, it's going to be the music director or the program director or somebody who's going to be listening and selecting that music in their music meetings. But if you do hear, okay, this is a very specialized show, this is probably where I fit, then follow that route.
Loretta, you're exactly right. And in America, in the United States, of course, we have 50 million radio stations and everybody's got a genre. And so you have a lot to choose from. But again, do your homework, do your research. Folks would send me music and I would listen to it. And then I would take the music calls and I would say, have you listened to my station? Why did you send me this? I'm so serious because they're just sending. And I would explain to them that you're wasting your money and wasting your time and wasting my time. But you're wasting your money sending your music out to stations that don't even support you. So don't do that. Do your homework. But I want to also talk about in doing your research and making those phone calls to the radio stations. First of all, find out who the real person is that you need to send your music to. Okay. Know how to spell their name and pronounce their name. I would get phone calls from folks asking for somebody that had been gone 10 years ago. And I was like, how long ago was that? Okay. So, And then make sure that you're sending it to the right person, the right format for you. I'll tell you a quick story about this. Young man kind of called me about his music. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I'm not going to say he stalked me, but he stalked me. And so he found out all the places that I would go. Like he would check the website to see where or listen to where I said I would be. And he ran up on me at a place and at an event. And he just said, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure. I didn't know him from Adam's House Cat. And he said, I just want to give you my music. And I said, well, thank you. He says, I'm so-and-so. I've called you. I've written you. I was like, oh, it's very nice to meet you. I didn't say, I'm sorry, I haven't done any. I said, it's very nice to meet you. And when I got the music, it was really good. And I ended up adding it to my playlist. So, it's nothing wrong with that if you can do that and develop relationships. I have so many great relationships with artists that they can call me or I can call them. And it's just a good thing to have. It really is because when they come through the city, they want to talk to me first. If they have something going on, they want to talk to me first. So it's really important that you be able to do that. It's really important. Relationships are everything in this business. They really, really are. Yeah.
True. Yeah. I think that's a really good point to make, because if you have an opportunity to have a relationship with somebody in the media, there is a great potential for not just that relationship to get strong, but for that individual in the media to spread your communication. Say, hey, this guy is really good. There's the opportunities there. They talk. I mean, the media, they talk. The radio stations talk to each other, and they have meetings and stuff all the time. So there's opportunities for them to talk and say, hey, I was talking to this guy Bob, and he's really cool. You should, So yeah, don't waste an opportunity. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Cheryl, you asked a question about, is it good publicity? Any publicity, good publicity, whether it's good or bad. Yeah. Loretta, what do you think about that? That's a good question.
I think in the secular market, people get away with that phrase a lot more when they're trying to just hype their profile and that kind of thing. However, Christian artists, you are representing, you have a different voice that's trying to be represented out there. You're representing your ministry, your music. You want to be shone you want the best light shone on you and your music. And so, yes, your name may get out there, but it may be tainted. And yes, Christians are we're known for being forgiving, but we're also, there is judgment happening
We're
there too.
human.
And so you do need to, we're human. We do need
Yeah.
to protect,
Yeah,
we do need to
exactly.
protect your image. And so, yeah, you want to be able to hit the right media targets and get yourself shown in an appropriate way.
Here's what I want to say about that is that bad publicity is just that. And in the long run, it will hurt you. And in today's environment, when it can be a shot heard around the world in 5 seconds, 30 seconds, you don't want to do that because there's no way for you to correct that. After it's out there, it's out there. You can't take it back. You cannot take it back. So, make sure that you are governing yourself accordingly and not do the bad publicity. All right.
That also ties into
what
what we were talking about earlier about the relationships.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
Like if you're working with a media person and you clash and you start talking bad about them or giving them attitude, the community is small.
Yeah.
That can get around very easy. And so not only are we like, is this important when it comes to media and press? It's also all the relationships in building your career. Because if somebody is like, they were really hard to work with, or they didn't pay their bill, or something like that, you're going to have a hard time building your team in the future because that reputation will stick in the community.
And we talk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And that is so true. And that's actually an enlightening point because I don't think that is something we actually take into consideration as even artists, that to know that the media it's a small world after all, right? Kind of idea. And
we're not out there gossiping, but word does get around.
No.
Like conversations happen, and sometimes it might be, hey, we're going to interview. What can you tell me about this person? Like what can we expect or not expect? And that's not a gossip thing. That's more of that could be a research from one journalist to another journalist.
That's right.
And if something is said in the negative, that doesn't go really well, right? But if something said in the positive, this person was really, really great person to work with, very shy in this area, but very, very strong on this topic or whatever the case may be, then that helps, right? Each journalist or each one is helping one another kind of idea. So I think that's a really good point. I mean, that is something that is true even in other areas. I mean, it happens behind the scenes in the technical side at events. It happens. I think everywhere. Well, so I think that's a really, really good point. And I thank you for asking that question about the publicity, because that was one question that I thought I was just curious. Some people do say any publicity is good publicity, but I love what you said, Loretta. We as Christians and as believers, as gospel artists, we have a different voice. So not any publicity is good publicity. It's good publicity is good publicity, right? And that's
we're held to a higher standard. Period.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not out there to get TikTok views for doing your little twerk or whatever. We're not out there for views on counts and that kind of thing.
Right. I wanted to go back, and I know one of my questions is about image, and we talked about, when we're talking about things to avoid, like things like noisy jewelry and all that other stuff, but thinking about physical image, especially now that even radio is actually adding that video component for their, YouTube channels and so forth. What is the general rule for how one should present oneself physically? I mean, besides, make sure you take a shower and it can be clean, but is it be dressed up to the nines? Is it be dressed according to the image you want to portray? Like what is the ideal in terms of how a person should present themselves physically?
Yeah. Like what about a red carpeted kind of thing, or how would you dress or look if you're doing certain different type of media meets? How what's the appropriate way to handle those?
I think for general interviews. Sorry.
Go ahead, Loretta.
For general interviews, you want to represent who you want to, like how you want to be represented. Now, don't go wearing like the most psychedelic outfit that isn't going to translate well on screen. You're going to get distractions and you could get interference happening if you're wearing something busy. So don't go too loud. But if your vibe is a casual vibe, it's not bad to wear a casual vibe. If your vibe is a little bit more dressed up, then that's fine. Now, don't be looking like a homeless person.
You're basically saying
on
be
TV,
authentic.
but
That's what is that what we're
be
saying?
Be
authentic.
yourself. Yes,
Yeah.
I think
Oh
so.
Yeah, 'cause
boy, that's just a big revelation there. Wow.
But I mean,
Like if you want to wear your hat backwards and that's who you
right.
are and that's how you
I would
represent
do
yourself,
that.
wear your hat backwards.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's who
Okay.
you are now, and let's talk about red carpet for a moment. Depending on
Yeah.
the event, that would determine how you dress for the event. I mean, did you look at the Oscars last night? There was some crazy stuff on that red carpet, okay? Yes. Real crazy. But there were some beautiful things on that carpet too.
Sure.
So I think for the most part, and I know for me, I have fits. Oh my God, what am I going to wear? Red carpet. And generally I dress artsy like an artist, because we're in this industry. So I just always put my best foot forward. I'm going to dress artsy no matter what it is, classy. That's my style. So it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, unless it's a red carpet that is truly red carpet, black tie, got to wear a gown and
Right,
all
yeah.
that. But I think really and truly be your authentic self. Be your authentic self. That's what you need to do. And of course, don't get too crazy. Like she said, psychedelic. No, you don't really want to do that. So yeah.
Unless
Awesome.
that is your brand, and that's what I'm kind of. I would kind of lean as a performer. I'm thinking if I have a look and that's my lean, I'm not
Yeah.
going to take that away because someone tells me I need to tone it down.
No, but
Not-
be your
I'm not
authentic
saying
self.
again.
Be your
Again, it comes
authentic
back to
self,
being
too.
authentic. Exactly. And I think that as but most artists are not outlandishly psychedelic and crazy for in the Christian market. Because I know the Christian market is kind of like, there's a certain look that sells, but I get that. But if the authentic is put forward, I think that's the place to start when it comes
think
to
so.
but a gala, you have to respect it for what it is.
Right.
Dress well. Dress well. Put
Yeah.
that shirt and tie on, guy. Don't be sitting with no t-shirt and a smoker jacket, whatever. Don't do that. You gotta
Look,
you gotta
and
put a
good
tie on.
looking and good looking sneakers are acceptable now with black ties. So
Sure. I mean, yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a few guys
if in
that do
doubt-
that all the time with it.
Do a little video call with your friend that's checked in.
Yeah.
And wear your
What do you
outfit.
think? Is this a
Test
good
it
outfit?
out.
Yeah. Is this okay? Yeah.
Do-
Do I look
do a
fat in this?
screenshot. Do
Yeah.
a screenshot and put it beside a screenshot of the show that you're being interviewed for. And if you're that might clash
Yeah,
a little bit
exactly.
much, maybe I
Right,
should
right.
adjust things. So you can certainly do some things in preparation to test
Absolutely.
out your look.
Yeah. There's ways to do it. That is so true.
you know what? I've gone back and looked at pictures. If I didn't know what to wear, I would go back. What did they do last year? Let me go back to that gallery. I promise you I do that. Let me go back to that
That's true.
gallery and see were they dressed to the nines or were they
Right,
just
yeah.
kind of casual? Because I never want to walk in and be that person.
But also, I know you're going to be the person that says, I wore that last year. I'm not going to wear that this year.
Absolutely.
That's another reason.
I think
to
that's
do
any
that.
woman.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yes. No, you got a
Exactly.
point there. Point taken.
You guys have it easier.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we got a black suit and tie. We're good to go.
You're good to go.
So, okay. Now we need to wrap up because we had spent all your time. I really appreciate and want to just acknowledge the fact that you guys I respect your time. But if anything we had left out or a tip that you want to give to an artist who's preparing for an interview or a face-to-face media opportunity here, what's one thing, maybe reiteration of something that we said that you think is really important, or there's something that, hey, I haven't said this yet?
Man, I think we've talked about everything,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and just have on that good face, that smile. I've had people come in, huge artists, you know, international artists, on the phone taking care of um, musician business and
Hmm.
kind of using foul language and saying some stuff, and I'm going, oh my God, what kind of interview is this going to be? You know, so be prepared. Be ready, be humble, be ready to tell your story. Make sure that I know as the interviewer what you are not willing to talk about. And
Hmm.
if you need to make a correction, make a correction. Be on time, doggone it. Be on
Hmm.
time. So, you know, oh, we're going to be there in 30 minutes, and sheesh. And you know, they're calling back and forth. We're in traffic. We're on the way. I'm just like, wow, okay. And then because as for the interviewer, I want you to consider the interviewer. For me, I would have them stacked. So I might have 3 or 4 interviews, and
Yeah.
with you
Yeah.
being late, you've now thrown my schedule off, or you have to reschedule. When you've flown into town or you're on that promotional tour, you're going to have to come back and get me on the end of it, and I may not be available. So just consider that. Try to be on time, you know, and have your best face on. Just be ready for everything. All right.
Hmm.
I like that what you said about the smile. In radio too, they may not
You
see
can
your
hear it.
face, but you can hear it.
Yeah,
You
you
can
hear
hear
it.
that
Yeah,
tone.
absolutely.
So put that smile on, be relaxed. Don't be all uptight. What's the next question? Oh no, because that tension
Yes.
comes through as well. So that
Hmm.
practice with your friend is going to make you more relaxed. You're having a conversation with the person on the other side of the interview. You want to be able to have that naturally, not forced. Make it entertaining, chill, throw in a joke here and there. It's not a
Yeah,
stuffy experience. We want to know who you are and what you're about.
Yeah,
absolutely. I
I have a hard
Dale,
time with that fun thing, you know.
I have a funny
Trying to be
story on that one.
trying to be fun.
I had an
Yeah.
artist come in, and he was so nervous that he was sweating, like just he was
Yeah.
wet. He was so nervous. I stopped the interview and I said, "Are you okay?" He was like, "This is my first interview." He's a national artist now. He said, "This is my
Wow.
first interview." And I said, "Oh my God, okay. So let's turn it." We turned everything off. I went and got him some water, calmed him down, I mean, literally, his clothes were wet.
Wow.
Okay. He was so nervous. I felt so sorry for him. And
Hmm.
then, so we just started talking. I said, "So tell me about your mom and tell me about your dad." And we got relaxed. And finally, I just
Good for
turned
you.
on the recorder and just got some good stuff. But
Hmm.
sometimes they come in so nervous. You have to be that therapist at that time,
Right.
literally,
But
and
that
just
shows me that you are able to empathize with his position and make that connection from a different perspective, allowing for
yeah.
him to relax. And that was wisdom on your part, and that's really cool.
I was
I
just
think
being
that
mama as
that's
usual.
yeah, it's true too. But that was a wise way to deal with it, and that was really cool, really neat.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing I want to mention is don't get bitter about the no's. If you put
Mm,
out a request out there for an interview or for media airplay, don't get offended by the no's.
yeah,
Try to think, okay, what is it that's making, like, what is the roadblock here? What can I do to improve my story, my music, my presentation? What is it that they're looking for? Is this maybe just not the right fit?
right.
Yeah.
And so analyze that. And so don't get worked up and bitter saying, hey, they just don't like me. It's all about
Yeah,
me, or something like that. It's a, okay, let's have a look. Maybe this isn't the right fit for me. Maybe it's not the right fit right now. What
Yeah.
and
can
you
I
know,
work on to
Loretta.
continue building my story that they will be interested later?
Yeah, sometimes it might just be a time issue. Sometimes I will have so many shows in the can, and I've committed to those dates that when that person comes in, I go like, "Hey, I can take you maybe 2 months from now. Why can't you take me now?" Well, I can, but you're still not going to air until two months from now. Because I have all these shows in the can. And so that's another thing for the interviewer. Sometimes it's just not the correct time. It's just not the right time for that interviewer. So just understand that it may not even be anything about you. Nothing to do with you, just the interviewer's time. Okay?
That is so good. That is like icing on the cake for this conversation, because it's totally makes understanding that you may not always be you as the interviewee, what you're like, but it's just circumstances out of your control, and
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate your time that you have given to us today. It's been a great conversation and enlightening and fun, and I enjoyed your company. Really have.
It's been great.
Love you,
Thank you so
Dale.
much.
Cheryl, thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you.
You know,
So
it
if
has been
you're
awesome.
watching at home, oh, sorry.
If you're
Go ahead.
watching at home. And I was going to give us some shout outs though, because
Okay, cool.
I was quickly going, I haven't seen what's going on in the chat. Let's see if there's any questions. But, I want to give a shout out that basically Praise Fest Gospel Network was actually watching us tonight.
Yay.
So so I want to give a big shout out to them. Big shout out to the journalist who's watching us, and that which prompted me to say I want to also bring a big shout out to Praise Factor Awards, because the journalist is one of the nominees for the Praise Factor Awards, which is an award show in the U.S. in Atlanta, Georgia, which
Atlanta,
Atlanta, Georgia, which Twanda is very familiar with, probably very involved with as well. So a big shout out to that. A big shout out to Michael Manhertz as well, who's also a nominee here from Canada. So I wanted to give a big congratulations to him. A big shout out to Dale, who's also been nominated. And you understand now why. He's a crazy, crazy co-host.
I love it.
So big shout out. And oh yeah, and to us, because I guess we've been nominated too. So, but a shout out to Praise Factor Awards for accepting all these nominations. It's wonderful. I love how one of the artists put it. We're not always seeking for the award, but it's so nice to know we're being appreciated.
That's
It's
right.
so nice to know that our music or our ministry is something that is somehow touching a life somewhere. And if this is a way to acknowledge that effectiveness, thank you so much. So a big shout out to Praise Factor Awards for what they are doing to help acknowledge artists, not just in Canada, but all around the world, and helping to encourage people in this way. Thank you so much for what you are doing as well.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Great. So
And
don't forget that if you're your first time watcher on YouTube, I want you to make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because next week we got some more stuff coming your way. If you go onto our YouTube channel, you'll see a plethora of videos and so much information that you as an artist or someone who's in the industry or someone who's just familiar with the industry and wants to know more about it, it's an incredible resource. And also I want to remind you about our website, GMIHub.ca. Please go check out more about what we're doing, who we are, what we're all about. And if you want to communicate with us on an ongoing basis, it'd be great to connect with you. There's a place there for you can put your email, find out more about us. And also, don't forget, we have our Christmas project up and coming. And I want you, if you're a songwriter, to submit your song. Go to gmihub.ca, click on Family Christmas, and you'll find out more information about how to submit your song. And once again, I want to thank both of our amazing panelists for being here and for you at home for watching. And Cheryl?
hey, we just want to see you next time. You said it all, Dale. So
Thank you. All right, great.
So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Have a great week, guys.